Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today I'm going to be predicting where every single major NHL free agent will land in the 2022 offseason. Now we got so many big free agents this year and we're a day away from free agent frenzy, but with every single major free agent, what could their contract look like and which team will they eventually sign with? Watch till the end for the full predictions and picks. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are new. 50% of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you like free agent and hockey talk, this channel is the place to be. Now let's start things off with the first big free agent of the 2022 offseason in Johnny Gaudreau, of course, of the Calgary Flames, who we've heard a lot about recently, about really the Flames being far apart in contract situations, and the most likely thing of him going to free agency and signing with a different team. Although the Flames obviously wanted to keep him, it seems like at this point that is not going to happen. But considering how valuable he was this last year, 40 goals, 75 assists, 115 points, second in the league in 82 games this last year, he is going to get paid in my opinion, and I think around that $9.5 $10.5 million range is where he is going to eventually go. Now when it comes to the actual team itself, it'll be interesting to see, but of course in the playoffs as well this last year, in 12 games he got 3 goals, 11 assists for 14 points, and even though in that Edmonton series it was a little bit lackluster, he still at points came through for the Flames and was their most valuable player. It will be a huge loss for the Flames. We do know that Gaudreau does want to favor the East Coast. He does want to go to a place where his family is where he's a lot more comfortable. And to me, the team that will eventually end up signing him is the New Jersey Devils. We have heard some bits about the Islanders going after him, the Flyers going after him, but I think the Devils make the most sense in terms of who needs Gaudreau the most and who can afford to pay him the most, really. I mean, the Islanders would have to get rid of some major assets, saving with the Flyers to get a deal done, and I don't think he's going to be out on the market for all too long. I see the contract being 7 years at $9.8 million. And when it comes to the Devils, I mean, they have one of the best cap situations right now in the league. Right now, they got $25 million to work with. And really, the only players signed long-term right now are Hughes, Hischier, and Dougie Hamilton. So they got a lot of long-term cap to work with as well. And even though it would make the Devils a little bit front-loaded, to me, Gaudreau would be absolutely amazing with New Jersey. They could use some depth on that left wing, and Gaudreau obviously brings that. But as a first-line, major power play force, this is going to be a player that hopefully takes the Devils to that next step and puts them over the top. Now let's go on to another big time forward here, this time though in the best center available in Nazem Kadri, who is also going to get a massive payday and a career payday as well this offseason after having an historic season for him, where in 71 games with the Avs he got 28 goals, 59 assists for 87 points, and in the playoffs in 16 games he got 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points in 16 games. It was brilliant there as well. Kadri is going to be a man that gets a lot, and I could see him even getting as much as 8.5 if he truly wants to go for the most money possible. But I do think in the end, with Kadri being 31, there is some teams that might be out on him because, or him being 30, there might be some teams out of it because of that's maybe scaredness of the term, because I think Kadri is definitely going to be asking for 7 years and wanting that max term, and I think a few teams will end up giving it to him, but I do think the team that will actually end up fetching him is the Detroit Red Wings. To me, it just makes so much sense for Detroit to go after Kadri in a lot of different ways. They can use another veteran presence there, but they need another top 6 centerman. Even though they did draft Marco Kasper, I'm not sure if he's going to be as good as Kadri is, and especially Detroit trying to take that next step potentially. Even if it isn't this next year, I think Kadri is going to be such a valuable player for this Red Wings team to bring a lot of leadership and be great in a lot of key areas. And at a 7-year, $8.25 million deal, that's a contract that Detroit can handle. Of course, when it comes to their cap space this offseason, they got $31 million to work with. So obviously now they can make it work, but I do believe in the future Kadri will just be this great fundamental part of this team, and as a top 2 center core alongside Larkin, I think would be absolutely amazing. Now, is he due for a regression? Absolutely, but I think if he's paired alongside guys like Lucas Raymond, he could still be around a point per game and still could be one of the best centermen in the entire league. And again, if Detroit wants to take that next step, if they want to get more into the contending phase, Kadri will help them out beautifully. And again, I think the Detroit's the team that could maybe give them the most years players could give Kadri one of the best opportunities and also give him one of the better chances to win coming up. I mean, if he does stay there for those full 7 years, Detroit will be an amazing team, I would say, by year 2 at least. And to me, with Kadri, if you want to get to that next step as well and want to get as much money as possible, Detroit is a pretty good mix. Now, let's go on to the third big free agent on the forward side of things. And next up, let's go on to Claude Giroux, who is in a really interesting place, of course, after being traded by the Flyers, going to the Panthers, and likely not going to be able to stay there. He's at age 34, can still chip in amazingly offensively, but I think his contract is definitely going to be something to watch. Now, as for the team that will actually end up getting him, of course, after this year in the Panther system, in 18 games, got 23 goals, 42 points in 57 games with the Flyers. I think when it comes to the actual team fit, it'll be interesting because we've heard about him potentially going to Ottawa. We've heard about him potentially going to the Edmonton Oilers. But to me, I feel like Giroux might be one of those guys that ends up being available just a little bit longer than most people expect. And by the end, and this might be a little hot take here, but I think by the end, Claude Giroux will end up signing with the Anaheim Ducks on a 4-year deal at $7.75 million. Now, I see Giroux getting around that range, 7.5, maybe even 8, if he goes to a team like Ottawa potentially. But when it comes to the Ducks, they got $39 million of cap space, more than anybody else. Buffalo is the only team closest, and they have $32 million. So the Ducks have so much space to work with, and I think they could be in for a huge free agency if they want to go after big guys. And I think Giroux would be an amazing player to bring in. Whether you have him on that center position or have him on the right wing, to me, he brings such great experience and such great valuable experience when it comes to taking that next step, being in the playoff hunt for Anaheim. And when they were in that race this last year, it felt like they were just running out of gas at some point. I feel like with Giroux, though, with the offensive potential, with the playmaking he provides, you could have a 1-2 center punch of playmaking centers in Zegras and Giroux, and I think that would really set up the Ducks in the future quite well. And if they do want to take that next step, if they do want to be a contending team, I think they need to add to that forward group, and Giroux would do that excellently. Next up, let's go on to another forward from the Colorado Avalanche who will likely be leaving in free agency, in Andrei Burakovsky, who in my opinion is going to be a really under-the-radar pickup for a team. This last year, 61 points in 80 games, and the playoffs in 12 games, got 8 points as well. But this is a guy that's going to be a great second-line forward that brings a lot of offense, both in the shooting and passing department. And to me, there will be a lot of interest in him, but eventually, I think he'll end up signing with the Seattle Kraken. We do know the Kraken want to make some big moves, both in that forward group and on the defense when it comes to pure offensive skill, and Burakovsky I think would absolutely bring that. Now, is he going to be this amazing franchise face? Absolutely not, but I think with the Kraken he'll be a solid second line forward that does just a lot of great things and is on their first power play. When it comes to the contract, I think he'll get 6 years at $6 million. A lot of money for Burakovsky, but at the same time Seattle can afford it as well when it comes to their cap situation right now. They got $19 million to work with, and again, I feel like this offseason will be big for Seattle. Next up, in some more big-time forwards, we got Evgeni Malkin, of course, on the market, who recently confirmed that he would be going to the market and looking for other options other than the Pittsburgh Penguins for the first time in his NHL career. And after coming off of 42 points in 41 games, this is going to be a player that, although has had a lot of health issues over his career, I still think is going to get a lot of interest from a multitude of NHL teams. But at the same time, this might be my hottest take of the video, but I think Evgeni Malkin will end up with the Colorado Avalanche. 3-year deal, $5.5 million. I feel like if Malkin goes outside of Pittsburgh, he wants to win. And to me, the Avalanche are the best bet to be able to do that. We know the Avs want to maybe replace that second line center spot with Kadri being gone. And I feel like Malkin would be a really interesting fit with that Avs core. And you combine some of the snipers they already have. And I think Malkin as a second line center behind McKinnon would be excellent. You obviously, of course, got the Crosby and Malkin connection there before. Now you could have the McKinnon and Malkin connection. And even though the health is an issue, I feel like the Avs would be one of those teams that would be able to make it work and have him as a second line center, although definitely less at 5.5 than what he might get somewhere else. But now let's move on to the next big time forward player on the market here in Ondrej Palat, another player like just like Evgeni Malkin, who's going into free agency and going to another team for potentially the first time, of course staying with the Tampa Bay Lightning for all these years after coming off a 49-point season in 77 games, and of course an amazing playoffs, 21 points in 20 2023 games, he is going to get paid, and I feel like the team to pay him is the Dallas Stars. My favorite team. We know that they do need they are seeking a player on that right wing to play alongside Ben and Sagan on that second line, and I feel like Andrei Malkin fits that pretty perfectly. I think he'll end up getting a 4-year deal at $6.2 million. Definitely an overpay, but I feel like for the Stars, they need to overpay for something into that top six, inject some skill and inject some great power play ability, and I think Palat brings that in spades, can bring a lot off the rush, can bring a lot in different ways, and I feel like alongside Ben and Sagan can bring some speed that they desperately need. Next up, going to one of the more underrated forwards out there in David Perron, who, going off of the St. Louis Blues roster, is going to be a really interesting one to watch. This last year in 67 games, got 57 points, and in 2021, 58 points in 56 games. This is going to be a player that I think could get paid quite a bit, and deservedly so. Although it won't be much term since he is 34, I think the team that end up signing him will be the Calgary Flames. I think them losing Gaudreau is going to hurt, and I think they're going to go after somebody else, whether it be Evander, Kane, but I feel like David Perron maybe fits their style just a bit more. Can bring both in terms of the goal scoring and the playmaking, but can be great in all situations and also bring some feistiness to him, which I think Calgary will definitely appreciate. I think the contract will be 3 years at $6.5 million, and again, will bring another top six winger to Calgary. Even if it might not be Gaudreau's level, they'll try to find a replacement, and Perron is not a bad bet whatsoever. Now, the thing is, we're going to go on to another player here that is kind of all over the place in terms of where he could go and what the contract could actually look like. But next up, I'm going to go on to Evander Kane, the last forward on the list today. Of course, this last year of the Oilers, in 43 games, got 39 points, 22 goals, and 13 goals in 15 playoff games, which I think for a lot of playoff teams is going to raise that value 110%. I think he'll get a 4-year deal, $6.6 million on the market. But I think, just like Calgary going for another top six forward, the St. Louis Blues, losing Perron, will go after another top six forward of their own and sign Evander Kane. Again, to that 4-year deal at $6.6 million. I think for the Blues, they might want something different onto that top six, and considering how many playmakers they have already, like Robert Thomas, considering Thomas, one of the best passers in the league alongside Evander Kane, that would be a connection that I would love to see happen on the ice, and I feel like for the Blues, they'll think of the same thing, especially when it comes to the playoff time. Kane can get the job done, and I feel like for the Blues, they'll splurge for an even more expensive option than Perron. Next up, going to the first defenseman of this list, though, in John Klingberg, formerly of the Dallas Stars. As a Stars fan, I'm pretty happy the Stars aren't keeping Klingberg because I think he's going to get that 7-year deal that he is seriously coveting. And on the market, I think he could get quite a lot. At age 29, even though he's declined quite a bit, this last year he still got 47 points in 74 games. And for a team that needs an offensive defenseman, I think they'll end up giving him a 7-year, $7 million deal, and that team will be the Seattle Kraken. On top of getting Burakovsky, I think they're going to need another offensive piece, and on the defense, John Klingberg is the best option available, bar none. And again, even though he has had some decline and has had some injury woes, I think the Seattle Kraken will look past that, and again, I think this is a massive overpay for them, but they need to bulk up, and they know that they need to bulk up, and Klingberg would definitely add to that power play that needs help, and add to that offensive core that needs some help too, and bring some playmaking and some great passing ability that Seattle needs. Next up, going to Josh Manson, one of the more underrated pieces on the block as well. Of course, coming after that cup win with Colorado in a great bottom pairing role. I think he'll get paid quite a bit, and we have heard a lot about him going potentially back to Anaheim, potentially not going back to Anaheim, but I think he will go back to the Ducks at a 3-year, $5.5 million cap hit. Again, for the Ducks, I think they could make some big moves. They could even go after other forwards, maybe like a Ryan Strome potentially, but I feel like Manson and Claude Giroux are going to be their two big buys, with Manson coming back to the team. Next up, going to another big defenseman, just in terms of height, in Ben Chiarot, a player that is absolutely going to get overpaid, but I think for teams trying to take that next step, or even for playoff teams, they'll be heavily interested in Chiarot, even if he just was kind of fine for the Florida Panthers at best. But I do think the team that will end up getting Chiarot is the Ottawa Senators. 4-year deal at $4.5 million. They know that they need to add to that defense. I think they want to add some more physicality, even if they have that already in spades. And I feel like Chiarot brings that quite a bit, and considering they've already gone for guys like Alex DeBrincat, and I feel like they might end up losing out in the Claude Giroux battle, I think they're going to go for some other free agents, and Ben Chiarot will be one of those guys. Next up, going to the last defenseman though of this list, in Jan Rutta, who I did want to mention because I think he is going to get paid quite a bit. Was a big part of the defense for Tampa that obviously won back-to-back Stanley Cups and was alongside Victor Hedman's pair for quite a while during these last few years. I think he's going to get paid quite a bit and will go to a true contending team, and I think that team will be the Carolina Hurricanes. I think they'll give him a 3-year, $4 million deal, and obviously as the right D on Victor Hedman's side, I think he'll end up being that right D, potentially that second pairing guy behind Brett Pesce potentially. If they do bring back Evander, you probably have Pesce, you probably have Rutta, and you probably have Bear as well, but I could see potentially the Canes having Rutta alongside Slavin, and again, pairing Rutta with a great defenseman in the league, and I feel like he'll get quite a bit of money this year, as he probably deserves to. Now going on to the last few players though in the goaltenders. Next up, let's go on to the number one goalie in the market in Darcy Kuemper, who of course won the Stanley Cup with Colorado, had a topsy-turvy year, but still when he is healthy, can be fantastic at times. I think he's probably going to get $5.5 million on a 4-year deal, and I think the team that will end up giving it to him is the Ottawa Senators. Now they could still rock with with the goalie tandem they have right now. In terms of what they have right now, they got Forsberg and Gustafsson, which I feel like if the Sens want to take that next step truly, I'm not sure if they see that as the tandem they really want. I think Kuemper would give them some more stability, even if he can be an inconsistent goaltender. But at the same time, I think the Sens want to spend money, they want to get up to the floor, and I think Kuemper would do a great job at being this great, serviceable goalie. Even though I think the Sens defense is a lot worse than what Colorado's can provide, Kuemper can still be solid among worse teams. We've seen that with the Arizona Coyotes at times, and I feel like he'll be solid with the Sens. Maybe not worth that contract, which I think would be hard to live up to, but at the same time a starting goaltender that hopefully will be a lot better than Matt Murray was. But now let's go on to the next starting goaltender in Jack Campbell, who has been also all over the place. We've seen him have rumors of going back to Toronto before that Matt Murray trade happened, but I feel like really it's going to be the Edmonton Oilers that ends up getting him. 5 years at $5 million. That is the contract that's been rumored, and I think that's the contract that it'll end up getting. I think for the Edmonton Oilers, not signing Kane will give them some big flexibility this offseason, and right now they got $15 million to work with. Quite a bit, considering they don't have major free agents to sign besides Kane. But I feel like they'll bring some goaltending stability that they badly need, and I've been telling them they badly needed for years now. And I feel like even though Campbell, just like Kuemper, is a little bit inconsistent, he'll be much better than any other goaltender they've had really since Talbot. But that'll be it for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy the predictions, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you haven't already for more content just like this. Make sure you comment as well down below. What do you guys agree and disagree with my free agency picks? Where do you see these guys going? What teams could they go to? And what will the contracts look like? Let me know your thoughts down below. Of course, share this video with your friends. Get the free agent predictions out there and click this card for all of my trade rumor content right on one playlist. My name is Nathan. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.